Okay, so let's have a look at starting to block out our actual scene and the different ways that I sort of approach this kind of project and how I gather ideas and how I come up with concepts in Clarice. So let's create a new folder in our geo folder called new context rather called city, and let's create a new group, and the inclusion rule will select city, and if we click here we can copy the address, so Control C to copy, and in the group let's put this in here, / and start. So in this group it will include everything that is in the city folder, all of the geometry. So let's call this geo, or rather city geo group. So now there are several different ways that we can approach gathering ideas and sort of blocking out compositions. So in a lot of other software, the way you might do this, if you're creating a 3D base for your concept, would be to just perhaps create a box. And let's make this a little bit bigger so we see more. And you would try to, maybe block out something. Sorry about that. You would try to block out some building blocks for your city, maybe copy this and, try to do something like this, and maybe come up with a loose sort of idea this way, create more boxes for other buildings, that kind of thing. And that's cool. Another way to do something like this would be, for example, in Clarice, to create a grid. Let's just make it pretty big. And do something like new geometry point cloud. And let's parent it to the polygrid. And then geometry, select the polygrid and make the point count, make it 1000. And to then create new geometry box. And to then create a new scatter. And in the scatter, for geometry support, we'll select our point cloud and add the box. And then if we increase the scatter scale variance, we can get some cool compositions this way. And I do this quite a lot when coming up with ideas. I would say it's very useful. It's quite chaotic. We can take it another step further. So let's go back into our geo and create a new context. And we'll call this base pieces. And this is where I will import my kitbash geometry that I showed you and talked about earlier. So let's import geometry project, and in here I have all of my kitbash parts. Let's just select all of these and import them. I don't want to import any materials. Okay. So now I have all of these here. They're a little bit disproportionate. Let's just check the scale of everything that I'm working with. That's 100 meters. How big are these? 50 meters. Okay, that's more or less correct, let's say. Let's increase the scale. This to maybe something like this. And increase the scale of our box. And let's select all of these pieces and let's just hide them for now. And so what you can do is, let's increase the size of this box a little bit more. And in the scatterer, let's increase the scale variance in Y. Maybe this. Slightly more interesting. And we can create a new geometry point cloud. And in this point cloud, we can select geometry to be our previous scatter. So now we are essentially scattering points on our previous scatter. So now we can create a new scatter, and geometry support will select our new point cloud. And geometry, let's add all of our base pieces. And as you can see now, we have stacked these two together, and we can even in the point cloud increase the point count to say 5,000. And we can get some cool compositions straight away, having done very little. So if your aim is to just create a quick composition for some concept art, you can do this and, for example, find some view that you like here, let's say this, and you can just click this button to create a camera, and now you have a camera made from this view. And here you can see that we are viewing the viewport in 3D through this camera. So if we want to save it and not move it anymore, we'll just click this, deselect it, and click apply. And see, now we have created a camera here, and we can always go back to it and see what is going on. So that is quite cool. And I do this sort of stuff quite a lot. And I would really recommend playing around with these sort of ideas. And you can, again, go into the settings of your scatterers and your point clouds and really play around with everything that I've shown you previously and achieve some cool compositions this way. And best thing of all is they're free. For example, this could be a pretty cool image, and I put in basically no effort. I didn't have to think of the idea myself. It just appeared in front of me, and now that I've seen this image, you know, I'm getting new ideas for what I could make with this composition, and it's really useful and a fast way of working with Clarice. And maybe, I guess it's an equivalent of speed painting in 2D. You know, you get a lot for very little, and the results are really, really good for how much time you put in. So this is cool. Instead, though, we can do something slightly different. Let's combine these two methods and basically hopefully get the best of both worlds. So first of all, let's just get rid of all these. Let's keep the polygrid as the water level for our concept, and then let's just take this box and let's create a new point cloud and select the box, and let's parent it there, and let's create 1,000 points. And now we can move this box around and let's create a new, actually maybe 1,000 is far too many, let's just go with 100 to start with, and let's create a new scatter and select our point cloud and add our geometries. So now we have this kind of an asset that we can move around by moving the box around. And if I increase the size of the box, we can adjust it as well. Or if we don't like what we are seeing here, we can go into the point cloud and we can maybe change our number of points slightly and get a completely different result. Or, you know, if we are decimating, you can decimate by a few percent and kind of achieve the same thing, but I would just stick with changing the point count. And basically, the way I tend to work is by creating a few of these. Say, for example, that looks kind of cool. And let's take these and contextualize. And I'm going to call this screen left foreground tower. Cool. So, yeah, that'll be something we'll put here. And let me take my camera that I've brought in previously. I'll just rename it to render cam. And, ooh, that's way off. Where is it? This is the camera from my original project. Where is it in relation to everything? Oh, I see. Okay, no problem. Let's just move this up to here somewhere. Okay. And yeah, that's kind of what I want. Let's increase the size of the ground plane. Something like this. And again, I'm sort of doing this quite roughly right now, but just matching my process for how I made my piece. So not exactly the same, but I'll show you the general process, all of the steps I took, and then I'll bring in my original geometry just so that we're working on something that is exactly like what I already made, so that my advice can be as accurate as possible. So let's take this screen left foreground tower and copy it and rename it screen left midground tower. Let's take this and move this maybe around over here. And I think I had this set up slightly wider, so let's increase the number of points to maybe 200. And I think if I copy it, basically if you copy all of your, as you can see, I took all of my base geometry, point cloud, and scatter. And if I copy them, and I have a new box, the new point cloud 1, is automatically connected to my box 1, which is my new box, and my scatter 1 should be automatically connected to my new point cloud. So I move my new box, and I get a newly customizable copy. So I think for this one, I want something slightly more similar to this, and let's change this to maybe 75, something like that. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's look through our camera again. Yeah, that's quite similar to what I want. And then, slightly different technique, again I've shown you this before, is if I take my scatterer here and go into scattering and run the bake scatter script, I get a fully customizable copy. And this is how I went about working with this while I was creating it. And I believe what I did here was that, I'm pretty sure I rotated this 180 degrees and did this. Yeah, this is quite similar to what I had previously. Yep. And then that looks good for now, more or less. Let's create a new context, and we'll call this, what did I call it? Bottom city. Cool.